introduce them, but also to communicate with you two more things. As you know, it is bad communication to have a list of communications at the beginning, because then it is in vain. But as the editor of the ICCA journal, we also, I would say, asking for contributions, and that is reports on this conference. And what we would like to have is the reports on this conference by 3 days. So usually we have 3 persons who make a report on that conference. And so I would like to volunteer to have your discussion during the break, and I come to you, apart from if already somebody said, Ingo,
Day one.
Ingo has already sold day one. Then I have the opportunity to give Guy for one moment the floor. Could you, I would say, explain to the people here what you mailed to me? Maybe it is a suggestion.
Sorry, I wasn't listening there. I just followed.
Okay. Now I announced I would say the reports of this conference, and you sent me an interesting mail.
Yeah.
If you raise for a while, I give you 2 minutes to explain your thing. So, and Ingo now decides whether it's a good plan or not.
Yeah, that's right. I remember being asked by Jaap to summarise a session once, and found great difficulty because I'm not a real academic. And I thought if the speakers, after giving their talks, could just kind of write a few words of reflection about how it went and the further thoughts they had, and contribute those to the session summarisers, that would actually help the session summarisers. Is that
okay? That's fine.
Right.
Yes, I discussed that also with Aske, and we said yes. At one point, the authors have already the abstracts, of course, but sometimes indeed, like Lawrence, Richard, what Richard did is give a personal touch on it. And indeed, the personal touch we would like to have in the, I would say, the academic, but not really academic, I would say, reports of this session, as you understand this. So, if you give Ingo a personal touch, and I would like also to ask Casanova to give Ingo a personal touch, and later I come to the third player, the third speaker, etc. This was what my interruption was so far. Casanova, it is my pleasure, Tristan, it is my pleasure to introduce you here. We have already a long cooperation. I have seen with pleasure you're climbing the academic ladder, and now it is my pleasure to announce here Professor Casanova having a lecture here.
Thank you.
All the best.
So today I will talk about online learning of a playout policy for different games. So, the title of my talk is Playout Policy Adaptation for Games. So I'm from Paris Dauphine University, so in the center of Paris, so near the Bois de Boulogne and near the Arc de Triomphe. So the idea is to use Monte Carlo research to play games. So this is quite standard now. So we use UCT, which is a basic algorithm to play Monte Carlo research and to play games with Monte Carlo research. So we are interested in general game planning. So we want to have algorithms that work for multiple games and that generalize over games. So we will try to find algorithms that give good results in multiple games. And we use UCT, which use 4 steps that all of you may know, which are descent of the tree, expansion, playout, and backpropagation. And we are learning a playout policy online for UCT. So learning of playout policy has been addressed before by multiple people. So first people to use learning for a playout policy was maybe Coulon in 2007, where he was learning fixed pattern weight. For each possible pattern, he had a weight, and he was using this weight so as to select moves in the tree, to do progressive widening, and to do the playout. So to bias the playout. So there was development on this learning method, which were by Wang in 2010 on simulation policy learning. And in X, Ryan and Wang, they were learning patterns, and they presented it at the last CG conference. So the other way of learning is online learning. So instead of learning pattern weights once for all, you want to adapt to the position and to perform online learning. So learning during the UCT research. and so as to bias the move according to the position at hand. So an algorithm standard for learning online is REV. So it's very successful in Go and X and in other games. And REV learns with all move as first heuristic how to bias the policy in the tree. And it can also be used to bias the policy in the playout. And it was used in Pool REV so as to bias playout moves by Rimmel in 2010. And Pool REV improved slightly on random playout for Go, and it was 62% improvement. So the other technique which is most related to ours is MAST, so move average sampling technique. So it's a GGP technique that is used in the GGP program CADIA. So the idea is to use statistics on all the moves of a game and to bias the playout according to these statistics. So it chooses a move proportionally to the exponential of the average of the move. So for each action, for each move over each games, over all the games, it keeps the average result of the move and do playout according to these statistics. So what we do is that we also use GIP sampling. So we also play a move in a playout proportionally to the exponential of its weight. But the evaluation of an action, the weight for a move, is not, as in MAST, the average of the playout it has been played in, but instead it's learned with reinforcement learning. So it's learned by comparing it to the other available action in the same state. So instead of having simple statistics, we have a comparison between moves and other available moves. So other improvement to online learning of a playout policy were Ngram and less good reply policy, which were more recent than the MAST. And they have been applied to GGP and they improve GGP. And another recent development last year was to have multiple playout strategy and to choose one which is the most adapted to the problem. So this was the state of the art in learning playout policy. So now I will switch to the algorithm I used so as to do playout policy learning. So I was inspired by nested Monte Carlo search and nested rollout policy adaptation. So I did some work this year to adapt nested Monte Carlo search to two-player games. So nested Monte Carlo search is a single-player variant of LCTS. And instead of doing mean on the possible moves, it uses a nested level of search so as to improve the playout. And it uses the best sequence of move to choose its move in a playout. So recently we used an MCS in two-player games and we improved the playout by using an MCS. So as an MCS was working for some game, we wanted to try another algorithm which is quite related to nested Monte Carlo search, which is a nested rollout policy adaptation, so NRPA. So NRPA is a nested Monte Carlo search with policy learning. So it uses GIP sampling as a playout policy, and it adapts the weight of the move according to the best sequence of move found so far, just like in a nested Monte Carlo search. And during adaptation, the weight of a move of the best sequence is incremented, and the competing moves are decreased. So this is the adaptation we will use for our algorithm. So the idea of playout policy learning is to start with a uniform policy. So we start with all weights to 0 for all possible moves. So it does random playout at the start. And we use this weight, so the policy for the playout, and we adapt the policy for the winner of the playout. So we use the same adaptation as in NRPA, but in the contrary of NRPA, where we adapt for the best sequence of move, here for games, we adapt for the winner of the playout, so only for the move of the winner. So each move is associated to a weight, WI, and during a playout, each move is placed with a probability exponential of WI on the sum of the exponential of WI for the other moves. So it's proportionally to the exponential of the weight. And the algorithm is quite simple. So for once we have done a playout, we replace the playout. And for each move of the winner of the playout, we increase the weight of the move. So we do WI is WI plus 1. And for each possible move of each state of the winner, so for the other move that were not played in the playout, we decrease the weight by subtracting something proportional to the exponential of the weight. So this is how the policy is learned. So it's quite simple. You just have to increase the weight of the move that has been played and decrease with this formula the weight of the moves that have not been played. So we did try this algorithm for learning a playout policy on 10 different games. So for each game, each size on each game, we made 500 games, so 250 with white, 250 with black. And we played UCT with an adaptive policy against UCT with a random policy. So we did this for 1,000 and 10,000 playout, and for size 5x5 and 8x8. So here are the first 5 games. So the first game is Atarigo. So Atarigo is Panuki Go, also known as Panuki Go. So it's like the game of Go, except that the first player to capture has won. So on size 5x5 and 8x8, playout policy learning wins by a large margin, so 90% against UCT with a random playout policy. So it's very successful in Atarigo. We tried breakthrough, so in breakthrough it's more balanced, so it's a little improvement over the usual UCT. So we have 54 to 60% winning rates, so it's a little improvement. On the contrary, for Miser breakthrough, it's a great improvement. So using playout policy learning, we win almost all the games, so the result are 97% winning rates against uniform random policy. And we will see that for Miser games, it's often the case that learning a playout policy is much better than a random policy. The other game is Domineering, so Domineering 5x5 is almost solved. So we get something close to 50% with 10,000 playouts because the game is too simple, I think. And for 8x8, the game is a little harder, and we get 58%. And when we switch to the Miser Domineering version, then the game is harder. And as for Miser Breakthrough, on the Miser version of the game, we get much better results, like 83% against random playout policy. So we tried it on Go, so just using it on Go did not work at all. So we had 1% winning rate against for 10,000 playout on size 8x8, 1% winning rate against the uniform random policy, so it was not good for Go. And we tested it on Nice Through, so Nice Through, it was good. It was not good for 5x5, but 5x5 is quite a strange game at Nice Through because all moves are straight of winnings. So Nice Through 5x5 is a strange game, but on 8x8 we get 64% winning rate. And in Miser Nice Through it was even much better because we had up to 100% winning rates for 10,000 playouts. So in No-Go, it was good on small size, but it was only for 46% on the 10,000 playout, so it was balanced. But for Miser No-Go, it was much better, and it reached almost 90% winning rates for 10,000 playout on size 8x8. So the conclusion about that is that it appears to work extremely well for Miser games. So Miser nice through, Miser breakthrough, Miser no go. So Miser games, I assume that you all know what is a Miser game. Or Miser game is you are trying to lose instead of trying to win. So the winning conditions are reversed. So an explanation of why it works so well for Miser games is that in Miser games, or the Miser games that we tried, there are a lot of losing moves. So learning a play-out policy enables it to avoid losing moves in the play-out. And this is my explanation of why it could work so well. This may be important so as to have meaningful play-out to avoid losing moves during the play-out. But there is also other factors that can come into account to explain why it works so well in Miser games. So for Go, it does not work at all in my experiment. And for no Go, it was balanced. So it works for most of the game we have tested. And we will try to improve on this first algorithm, which is a simple algorithm, and to combine it with other UCT enhancements so as to improve it even more. So, thank you.
My compliment to speakers so far. I would say, gentlemen, you are well educated in your own country and probably in our community. The floor is for, yes. Oh, sorry, no. I thought that you had a question, but you tuned the, yes, I have also to tell, probably Oscar can tell a little bit more, but we have here, we have no, as we had before, the direct stream, because we have no direct stream here, so people cannot follow us. But what we do, we take here the, I would say, the video, and then we, after the session, we set the video on the web, so everybody can follow this with a delay of 3 hours, so to speak. Yes, but there you know that is the question. Still, our conferences are followable on the web, yes, and we apologize for the delay. That was not a question, that was a remark by his assumed question. But I would like to see raising fingers, and as you know, if no fingers are there, then I give turns to you like in your primary school. Okay, yes.
Alright, so those experiments are with the same number of players for either with policy or with no policy. But if you use policy, the players are much slower. If you compare how much slower they are.
Well, the idea was to, I did implement in C++ all the games, but the idea was to use a kind of general game playing environment, and to, so most of the time is used by playing moves and interpreting the rule of GDL in general game playing. So it's not such a difference between the playout which has informed policy and a random playout.
And another one?
Yes, continue, yes.
And yeah, you mentioned that you just adapted this policy adaptation from the version of Monte Carlo set algorithms which are nested. Here was no nesting.
Yes, it's another paper. So it's, I was inspired by this paper to adapt NRPA to UCT.
Next question. You? Yes. First there. Oh, there. Yeah.
I go first. So I was wondering the update rule for the weight. Is this based on something else, or is this something you're also introducing?
It's the same update rule as in NRPA.
Oh, I see.
So the nested rollout policy adaptation algorithm.
Yeah.
And just reuse the adaptation of NRPA.
There's no learning rate in there.
Yes, you instead of adding 1, you can add more or less than 1. So
yeah. But you didn't experiment with that.
No, I did not try to optimize that. I
Yeah.
just use a simple thing.
Yeah.
Final question. If there are no final questions, yes.
When you would have to invent a new board game where these online learning of the playout policy would be bad. Would you be able to design such a game that is not a clone of Go?
I think that in Go, move does not tell you much. It's dependent on the context, on what is around the move and when it appears in the layout. In a game like Miser Night Through, bad moves, they do not depend on the context, they are always bad. So I think that a game where moves are sometimes good, sometimes bad, then playout policy learning should be worse than in a game like Night Through, for example.
Subsequent question, whether you have bets on the new game in Go or not. Okay. Tristan, thank you very much. I wish you good.